March 22, 2025. Patna, the peaceful capital of Bihar. In a private hospital called Asia Hospital, everything was going on as usual that afternoon. Nurses were talking, patients were moving, bed alarms were ringing regularly. No one expected that just a few minutes later, everything would be engulfed in chaos. A series of dry gunshots rang out from down the hallway, from the office of the hospital director, Dr. Surbhi Raj. The door was still closed. When the staff rushed in, all they could see was a pool of blood on the floor and the lifeless body of the woman who had been the life of this hospital. She was no longer breathing, but the mystery of her death is still alive. Who had the guts to kill a hospital director in broad daylight in a private office? And why her? Let us delve into this shocking case, where love was betrayed, where trust was killed, and justice is still being written. Surbhi Raj is more than just a doctor. She is a symbol of a new generation of women, educated, determined, and not content to live in the shadows. One of the founders of Asia Hospital in Patna, she and her husband, Rakesh Roshan, also known as Chandan Singh, were once hailed as a successful couple in the private healthcare sector. In her early 30s, Surbhi is a woman to be reckoned with, calm, attentive to patients, and devoted to her staff. Relatives say she lives a simple life, works without breaks, and wants to build a truly quality hospital in the heart of a city with many medical shortages. Her husband, Rakesh, was also a dynamic businessman on the outside, running the hospital with his wife. But on the inside, he was hot-tempered, patriarchal, and often argued with Surbhi over financial control. In the early stages, they shared a medical dream. But just a few years after the hospital started operating, a shadow began to fall. The arguments increased. Rakesh began to avoid his wife, constantly going out, and especially spending a lot of time with a female employee in the hospital, Alka, who was in charge of the Human Resources Department. According to friends, Surbhi had been secretly investigating the hospital's irregular expenditures, and then discovered a series of suspicious signs. At the same time, she also began to suspect the shady relationship between her husband and the female employee under her. She chose to talk, but in the closed rooms no one heard Surbhi's warnings, and no one expected that the man who had sworn to live and die by her side was secretly planning the worst. A cruel plot, not only aimed at the wife's heart, but also at the honor and dream she had built her whole life. Surbhi's family conflict didn't start all at once. It smoldered for months, if not years. While she struggled to keep the hospital running efficiently, she increasingly found herself isolated in the very place she had co-founded. It all started with the numbers. Surbhi noticed that there were many unusual expenses that were approved without her knowledge. Purchase invoices, commission payments, unreasonable salaries. When she confronted the accounting department, they were evasive, saying that her husband had already approved it. At the same time, she discovered that Rakesh often visited the HR department, where Alka, a female employee nearly 10 years younger than her, worked. They laughed naturally, were openly close, and Rakesh's attitude changed dramatically whenever Surbhi was around. The coldness gradually turned into contempt. Many times Surbhi caught her avoiding eyes, and conversations immediately stopped when she approached. She once directly questioned her husband, but Rakesh denied everything and even got angry, accusing her of being suspicious, controlling, and not trusting her husband. A tense conversation took place about a week before her murder. Surbhi frankly told him that she knew he was having an affair, and if necessary, she would suspend her cooperation at the hospital while the investigation agency clarified the illegal expenses. "I cannot let you turn years of hard work into a money laundering and emotional game," Surbhi said, according to a close friend of hers. From then on, the atmosphere at the hospital became heavy. Surbhi almost only worked in her room, limiting contact. She cut off Rakesh's salary approval authority and prepared to send the files to an independent auditor. But she didn't know. Outside, Rakesh, Alka, and 2 trusted staff members had begun meetings to deal with the problem thoroughly. According to police, 2 weeks before the incident, text messages between them discussed quitting Surbhi, making her disappear, and making sure no one would stand in her way. If anyone in the hospital saw anything, They didn't speak up, and if Surbhi ever called for help, it was lost in the empty corridors of a silent health system, where money and power can kill even the truth. The administrative area of Asia Hospital was still humming. A few patients were waiting in the lobby. The on-duty doctor was looking at files, and the security team was standing on the porch, complaining about the scorching heat. In the director's office, at the end of the second-floor hallway, Surbhi Raj had just finished an internal meeting. She asked the accountant to submit all the salary receipts from the previous month and scheduled a check early next week. Little did she know, there would be no next week that day. At around 3:20 p.m., a man in a white blouse, a medical mask, and a stack of files in his hand walked quickly towards Surbhi's room. Behind him was a woman and a young man, all familiar faces in the hospital. The door was ajar. Surbhi looked up when they entered, frowning slightly. "What's going on?" No one answered. Within seconds, according to a later cleaning staff statement, there was a low rumble in the room. Then, bang, 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 3 shots in quick succession. Clean, quick, sharp. The sound of a chair falling, a muffled groan. Then 2 more, as if to make sure no one would survive. The hospital staff rushed in a panic, but the door was locked from the inside. A minute later, the group walked out still wearing masks, chillingly calm. No one suspected they had just committed murder. When the colleagues broke down the door, the scene inside was a lifelong haunt. Surbhi lay motionless on the floor in a pool of crimson blood. She was still wearing her white blouse, her phone lying next to her hand. The screen was cracked. There were signs of a struggle. Papers were scattered everywhere. But it was too late. No one at the hospital heard the gunshots clearly. They only heard a noise, like a table falling over. Security cameras? Not working. Eyewitnesses? None. Clear evidence? Almost none. Every trace seemed to have been wiped away within minutes. A case that was carefully calculated, cold, and cruel. At around 3:35 p.m., Sonal, a patient coordinator, went to the director's office to sign the discharge papers. She knocked lightly a few times, but no one answered. Surbhi didn't pick up the phone, even though the phone rang inside. A bad feeling took over. She immediately ran to the security room to call for more people. When they returned, they broke down the door, which had been bolted from the inside with a small hook. The door swung open, and everyone fell silent. Surbhi was sprawled on the floor. Blood had dried around her head and chest. Her face was still in a state of shock, as if she was struggling before she died. In her left hand was a broken phone, still showing the unfinished call. A nurse rushed to check her pulse, then shouted, "She's not breathing! Call an ambulance, call the police!" The Patna police received an emergency call at 3:43 p.m. from the hospital switchboard. Within 20 minutes, the investigation team was there, cordoned off the scene, and ordered all staff to remain at their posts. The incident spread like wildfire. Local news agencies began to arrive. Surbhi's family, especially her mother, a retired teacher, nearly collapsed when they heard the news. While waiting for the forensics to arrive, a detail caught the police's attention. The security camera in the hallway on the second floor recorded absolutely nothing. The storage data was blank from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., matching the time of the crime. There were signs of tampering. The emergency was reported to the higher authorities. The Patna Police Department formed a special investigation team, SIT, that same day. The case was no longer a medical accident. It was officially treated as a case of premeditated murder. The killer knew the hospital layout. They knew which rooms had cameras, they knew which hours were less crowded. This was not a random murder, this was a plot, the head of the investigation team told reporters. The post-mortem was conducted that night at the AIIMS Patna hospital. The forensic report revealed that the victim had been shot a total of 5 times, 3 of which had penetrated her heart and lungs, causing her death almost instantly. The victim had bruises and minor scratches on her hands, indicating that there had been a struggle before her death. The most notable detail: Surbhi had a clump of hair clenched in her palm, most likely as she tried to fight back and grab her attacker's hair. This led investigators to believe that the murder was not simply a cold-blooded execution, but also a case of anger and personal motive. Initial clues. Victim's phone. Broken. Unable to make calls, but history shows Surbhi dialed the emergency number at the time of the attack, but did not have time to press the call button. CCTV disabled. It confirmed that the second-floor hallway camera system had been tampered with the hard drive removed between 2:45 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. Murder weapon. Not found at the scene. However, technicians found 5 9mm shell casings under the table and near the door. Slight chemical smell around the door, suspected to have been used to remove fingerprints. The police summoned all hospital staff present that day, especially those who had been in the administrative area between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Some initial statements raised conflicting points. An unnamed administrative staff member claimed to have seen Rakesh Roshan, Surbhi's husband, near her room around 3 p.m., accompanied by an HR staff member named Alka. A security guard also confirmed that Rakesh was present in the hospital, but did not sign the checkout book, although the log said he had left at 2 p.m. When questioned, Rakesh Roshan claimed that he was meeting a business partner outside, but could not produce any receipts, cameras, or witnesses to confirm this. Alka, the HR employee, initially denied being at the scene, but when checking her timesheet and door entry records, the system showed that her card was swiped at 15:17, right after the crime. The police began to suspect that this was not a single act, but an organized conspiracy. An extensive investigation team was sent to Rakesh Roshan's home and office. There they discovered a handgun with traces of traces hidden in a closet behind the private room, a USB drive containing a series of financial documents showing illegal cash withdrawals from the hospital fund in Rakesh's name and signed by Alka herself. After 3 days in custody, as the evidence became clearer, Alka was the first to collapse. "I was just following his plan. I was afraid of losing my job. He said if I didn't cooperate, I would be next," she cried as she told the police. She claimed that Rakesh had repeatedly abused Surbhi, both physically and mentally. When his wife cut off his access to his account, he lost control. And when Surbhi was about to report financial irregularities in the hospital, he decided to finish the job once and for all. Along with his brother Atul Singh and 2 trusted employees, Anil Kumar and Masood Alam, Rakesh planned to kill his wife in her office to create a closed scene. On March 25, 2025, the police announced, "We have arrested a total of 5 people, including the victim's husband and his lover. The case has been established as a premeditated murder, organized, and with a clear motive." As of September 2025, the case has not yet been formally tried. The Bihar Investigation Bureau has completed its investigation and transferred the entire case to the Patna Sessions Court on charges of murder, IPC 302, attempt to murder, 120B, destruction of evidence, and abuse of office. 5 accused: Rakesh Roshan, victim's husband; Alka, lover and HR employee; Atul Singh, Rakesh's younger brother; Anil Kumar and Masood Alam, 2 trusted employees. Key evidence: GPS and timekeeping data show that the accused were present at the scene at the time of the murder. The gun seized from Rakesh's house matched the type of bullet found. USB containing illegal withdrawal data. Clear financial motive. Alka's confession, along with indirect recordings, proves pre-planned conspiracy. A lock of hair recovered from the victim's hand matched the DNA of Masood Alam. Surbhi's mother, during the 49-day vigil, broke down in tears before the media. She just wanted to be a doctor, to help the sick. She trusted the wrong person. "How can I live knowing that my son-in-law killed my daughter?" The medical community in Patna held a candlelight vigil, demanding justice for Surbhi and demanding stronger legal protection for female doctors, especially those who co-run private hospitals. Unanswered questions. Why did the technicians not notice that the camera system was disabled before the murder? Was there someone else behind the scenes, helping the perpetrators erase their traces? Unauthorized withdrawals from the hospital fund, linked to outside organizations? The Patna court is expected to hold the first hearing in late 2025. However, no specific date has been announced yet. While justice is still awaited, the pain in the hearts of those left behind cannot be closed. Surbhi Raj, a smart woman, a dedicated doctor, a director with a dream of decent health care in the heart of the city, did not die of illness or accident. She was murdered by the person she trusted the most. Not society, not a strange enemy, but her life partner, her bed partner, the co-founder of the hospital, Rakesh Roshan. He did not kill her with a single stab, but with years of betrayal, with intrigue, calculation, and deadly silence. The case has not yet been tried, but the story is enough to awaken a truth. When trust is stabbed in the back, sometimes there is no chance to fix it. When justice is late, the price to pay is a life. We can sit here, talking about greed, about womanizing, about wrongful withdrawals, but the most painful thing is not there. The most painful thing is, Surbhi spoke up. She protested. She chose the truth. But no one listened. If there is a lesson to be learned from this story, perhaps it is. Listen to women when they warn. Don't wait until they are silent, because by then, they may be underground. Thank you for following today's case. If you find this content meaningful, please share, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts. We cannot change the past, but we can do better in the future. Wishing you peace in your life and in the choices of your heart.